let's get started. So today we're going to talk about networking success. So there may be an event you have coming up, could be just a dinner you're going to, could be a formal networking mixer, could be a conference that you're going to, and you really want to make the most of your networking success there. But oftentimes, and I include myself in this camp, there is a problem. And that problem is, why does networking or networking training sometimes feel like a waste of time? So let me ask Jason, have you ever felt that way? And if so, why?
Because I feel networking is kind of spontaneous, right? You really don't go in there with a plan. You just know there's a bunch of people, professionals, and you just want to meet them by talking to them and seeing what they do and seeing how you find commonality.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's more like a spontaneous thing rather than a planned out thing. How about let me ask Marianne. Marianne, have you ever felt that networking can sometimes feel like a waste of time or the training isn't very helpful?
What do you mean by training?
Like a training like this, right? Where we're going to talk about networking and then you spend 30 minutes and then you actually go into a networking event, and is it actually really helpful or not?
I don't know. Like, I feel like in like a training aspect, I don't know. I always feel like I could learn something from everything.
Mm-hmm.
But when there's like trainings in terms of networking, I feel like sometimes it could be like redundant.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah.
Okay. Great. And one last person, Wander, would love to get your thoughts on how come networking or networking training sometimes feels like a waste of time.
Sorry, I'm like trying to juggle three things here. Um, I think it's just people think they know how to be flexible or compatible. Like, when it comes to, people think networking is just talking, right? And I think they don't know that there's strategies around it, etc. And it's not just, it has nothing to do with being friendly or nice or anything like that. There's intent that needs to be behind it. Like that's my perspective.
Absolutely. So agree with everything everyone just said. Want to key off of a point that Wander just shared about the goal and how that can sort of be part of networking. And in actuality, sometimes it's not really about the goal, and the goal can actually create problems in terms of networking. Because what happens is if you go in with a goal and you're like saying, oh, I need to collect, so and so many contacts, or I need to meet this sort of person, there's an energy you're putting out, and people feel like almost like you're just a goal, or they're just a goal. They don't feel like you're trying to connect, to Jason's earlier point and to what Marianne was saying about feeling natural, right? You're just going there and you're trying to connect, and sometimes the goal can actually get in the way. So what's the solution, right? You're not going to go in there and just wander around and have no idea what you're doing. You still have to be effective and productive. And the key is to think about networking less as a goal and more as the purpose, right? What is the purpose of you being there? And if you take it back a few steps, what is the purpose that you have that led you to even consider being at that event, right? So what is your purpose outside of the networking event that follows you around in all your activities, conversations, and all you do? So what happens a lot is we're not very clear on our purpose when we go into a meeting or an event. And if we're not clear on the purpose, it can become harder for us to understand what we should do or to even understand what's going on. So let me ask Gabriella, what is your purpose, not for the Meet the Board event, but what is your sort of overriding purpose for who you are and what you do with ALPFA, with your business, with everything? What is sort of your driving purpose, Gabriella?
Um, that's a great question. To understand a little bit more, the corporate environment in USA in New Jersey.
Mhm.
As a immigrant in foreign who haven't been emerged full on this environment, for me it's great to understand what are the conversations, what are the needs, where I can feed with my skills or how I can help others. And because always is good to grow your network based in your for example, before you talk something about why sometimes we feel that is waste of time, but it depends of the conversation. If it's something that is not my interest, of course I'm going to be boring maybe. But leadership is something that it's a word that is very in my mind all the time. I want to learn more. I want to learn. I'm so hungry to learn about leadership. I'm so hungry to learn about all these inclusive conversations and all that, so I can also I forgot the word in English, sorry, sometimes,
Say it
but
in Spanish.
contribuir, so I can like contribute with my skills or who I am as a Gabriela Tutalo, and what I can learn and what I can learn from others and what I can contribute to others.
That is beautiful, Gabriella. Now, I want to point out for everyone on the call something really important that Gabriella talked about. She talked about her purpose in terms of serving other people, right? One of the differences between, a purpose and a goal can be a purpose always has to be in service of others, right? There are things you want to do, there's things you want to accomplish for your career, for your business, for your life. But when you talk about your purpose is generally keyed into how you exist in relation to everyone else, in relation to the world, whether it's a specific group or community, or it could be a certain type of person in your life. And knowing that purpose and having clarity around the purpose is what actually supercharges your networking. Now, how does it do that? You're in a conversation with someone, there are 1,000 things you can say, right? So if you don't understand what your purpose is, you don't really understand what you want to be saying, right? It's kind of like if you go to a concierge and you say, give me something fun, right? It becomes very difficult for the concierge to figure out what it is that you want to do. But if you're more specific and you're saying, I really like extreme sports, or I'm not into extreme sports, I really like museums and culture. Tell me about something fun that I can do in this area. All of a sudden, you start to have a much more productive conversation. So knowing your purpose really helps you understand what you want to key in on and what you want to talk about with the person. Another important part of knowing your purpose is it helps you hear the right things, right? There's lots of conversation going on. People are talking about their kids, they're talking about a project they're working on. What you hear is actually going to change depending on how clear you are on your purpose, right? If you have no purpose and you just go in there, all of it just sounds interesting or all of it sounds like gobbledygook, right? But if you have a clear idea of what your purpose is, there's going to be a specific thing that they talk about that you're like, oh, that's interesting. Let me explore that more, right? And you can follow that thread into the purpose. And finally, the other important part of knowing your purpose is it helps you understand how to prioritize your time, right? So you're in a networking meeting, whether you talk to one person or 50 people, it doesn't matter, right? The only thing that matters is, are you fulfilling your purpose? Are you advancing your purpose? So let me ask Jacqueline or Jackie a question. Let's say you talk to one person, the CEO, for an hour, or you talk to 20 people, 5 minutes each. Okay, my math is not good. You talk to 20 people for 3 minutes each. How can you tell which one of those is better for your purpose, Jackie?
Personally, I would enjoy the conversation I'm having that's with the CEO for an hour, because I think like if you have a more in-depth conversation, you're connecting more with that person.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said about the connection, right?
Mhm.
Now, let me flip it a little bit. What if what the CEO is talking about has nothing to do with your purpose, but maybe 10 of those other people you talk to are really aligned with your purpose? At that point, which one seems more beneficial for you?
Um, the 5 people I'm talking to,
Yeah,
I would say,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what Jackie's demonstrating here is it's not an A-B decision, right? Some people might think, oh, I want to talk to the most important person in the room, right? Which seems like a good strategy until you realize that the most important person in the room doesn't care about your purpose at all, isn't going to engage with you in a discussion, and is just going to spout forth what they're interested in, and there's going to be no way to connect. So I'm not saying you shouldn't connect with the most important person in the room. I'm just saying sometimes that's actually not the right move. Now, the opposite can happen. You can talk to 20 people and none of them can have the juice to help you or care about your purpose or be aligned with your purpose, versus you could talk to one person. Doesn't have to be the CEO, could be a supplier, could be a person who's going to volunteer or maybe come work for you. And you have this really long, deep, connected conversation like Jackie was talking about. That one conversation, right, could be the key to helping advance your purpose. So as you can see, when you really understand your purpose and have figured that out going in, it's going to help you make a more productive time out of your networking. It actually decreases the stress, right? Because you're not just like, oh, let me find someone who I can connect with, right? At that point, you're just gambling, right? You don't know who you're going to connect with. You're not going to know how much effort or time you want to put into particular conversations. However, if you know your purpose, then all of a sudden everything sort of gauges off the purpose and you'll have a better result there. So goals are important, right? It's good to have a goal when you go into any event, but a goal without a purpose is like a fake hug we give ourselves. We're like, good job, right? I accomplished that goal. But in actuality, you really didn't accomplish much. You just feel better. But if you haven't advanced your purpose, it's just like a fake hug that you've given yourself. So the next question becomes, how do you get people to be open, right? So let me ask, let's see, Jason. What are some ways that you've noticed that? What are some ways that you've noticed that people seem to be more open when you talk to them?
I think as human beings, we gravitate to commonality. So it could be family, it could be kids, it could be sports because football's going on right now. It could be the weather, it could be, you know, paying taxes, right? Something that we can find in common. And when we can kind of start the conversation in that area, people tend to open up more about other subjects, which then will allow you to talk about other things that are not related to that. So I think that's the best thing to do, find commonality with somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jason brings up a fantastic point. When you find that point of commonality, all of a sudden the conversation begins to flow, and it can really, really lead to some interesting, interesting discoveries, interesting sharing, interesting future conversations. So in this part of the training, I want to talk about prior to figuring out what's in common, right? Like that initial kind of thing that you say to the person, which can either spark more of a conversation or it can actually make it land totally flat. And this is an area that a lot of people stress about, right? Like, oh, what do I say? What's the first thing I say to someone? And, you don't want to come off as being some sort of stalker or fan, if you're meeting someone important, but by the same token, you want to engage and you want to talk to the person and, you want to give off a good impression and get them talking so you can get to those points of commonality, as Jason pointed out. So I'm going to share with you 4 different sort of areas which naturally get people to be more open. So the first one, the O in open, is for opposite, right? So when you see someone and you know something about them and you engage them with the opposite thing, what is generally their reaction? So Marianne, like let's say you're a dog lover and I tell you that cats are better, what would be your reaction? Would you engage with me?
I would.
Yeah, we'd have a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And why is that? Why would you sort of push back when I say, oh, I'm telling you the opposite of what you think?
Because then it like creates conversation as to why you think it's better. Like, why do you think cats are better?
Yeah.
And it's like also like lighthearted as well. Like you can throw some like really like kind of jokes in there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's that why energy gets created, right, Marianne? It's like a natural human being thing. Someone says, A, and you want to say B, right? Someone says Yankees, you want to say Mets, right? Dogs, cats. It's just a natural, easy way for people to engage when you naturally have some sort of opposite view as someone else. So with all these things I'm going to share with you, not recommending you make anything up, right? These are just things that can naturally occur. And the O, P, E, and N are just ways to think about it. So thanks, Marianne. The P is for pain, right? If you are talking about something that's painful to you, to the other person, either sympathizing or maybe a way to relieve the pain, all of a sudden that can lead to more conversation. It doesn't have to be something like horribly tragic, like, oh yeah, I know you're going through a divorce, right? It can be something simple as, wow, that chair looks really uncomfortable. I can't stand these chairs, right? Because you see someone kind of wiggling, in the chair. Or let's say there was a horrible traffic or like snowstorm on there, and you say, man, it was a real pain to get here. How did you get here? Did you get here okay? Because we all share in our kind of human being sort of feeling our commonality of pain. So let me ask Gabriella, what is a common pain that people have that maybe you could talk to people about or observe and start a conversation?
Maybe when the weather is very hot or there is no ventilation.
It's so hot in here. Right? Exactly, Gabriella. That's a great one. That's automatically going to easily kind of open people up to conversation. The E in open is for emotion, right? Anything that's emotionally charged, whether it's a good emotion or a negative emotion or anything in between, tends to get people connecting and opening up, right? Let's say you walk into a room, Wander walks into a room and he is so excited and he wants to share something that's like really great that like happened to him. What are the chances, Wander, that people will engage and want to know more about that?
Hi, curiosity, right? So that curiosity gets triggered and people were like, why is he so jittery, jumpy,
Yeah, versus, hi, my name is Wander.
Exactly.
I got nothing, right? Like, I don't want to talk to that, right? Versus, oh my gosh, why is this guy like ready to sort of jump through the roof? Did he just win the Mega Millions? I want to talk to this guy and find out what's going on, right? Absolutely.
And I think that positive vibes or energy, you can't be, if you're silent, then that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last letter in open and be open is novelty, right? People love to talk about something that's new, that's in the news, that just happened. Maybe I remember when like iPhones first came out, like if you had the new iPhone, everyone would just crowd around you and like want to see the functionality and want to like play with it. It automatically created this buzz because it's not commonly known, it's not commonly seen. There's a novelty about it, right? So anything novel, let's say you just started a business, right? That's not something that everyone does. Let's say you just moved into a new house or got a new car, or you comment on something that's new for them, right? You realize someone just started a job, right? Imagine you say to someone, hey, I noticed you just started working at X company, how do you like it? Right? See how that can actually very easily open up the conversation. Now, the last part of be open, which is actually the first part, right? So we went over opposite, pain, emotion, and novelty. But look at the first two letters in be open. It's be, right? It's not about doing, it's about being in the room, sensing things, just being yourself, being relaxed, because then all those things that you want to talk about will more likely naturally occur to you versus like, gotta get more business cards. Gotta talk to so-and-so, right? If your mind is like that, then it becomes very difficult for you to be open because your mind is already occupied on achieving that goal. And guess what? Other people can sense that, and they sense it in a negative way, not in a positive way, because they can somehow feel that you're using them to try to meet the goal, that they're being used. And there's nothing worse for networking than the people you're talking to feeling used, right? It has to be this connection. It has to be this open kind of conversation. So I'm going to stop for now. I have some time after 12:30 if people want to stay on for questions. If you need to jump off in 3 minutes, totally fine, because this is scheduled for 30 minutes, but just wanted to give a moment. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask or observations they want to share with the group?
I have one.
Sure,
So
man.
like I know we were talking about like, like our purpose, like personally,
Mhm.
but since this is like a group event
Mhm.
and like Meet the Board is coming up, what do you think is like our purpose, as a collective for the event? Like just meeting as many people as possible. Are we trying to recruit like people onto our board? Like what is the underlying purpose that we have?
Yeah, great question, Marianne. So for each person, the purpose is going to be very personal, and it's kind of going to lay on top or alongside the purpose for your committee or group, right? So I'll give you an example for myself. My overarching purpose is to always help people become the best professional they can be, right? And the way that intersects with ALPFA is my work as, vice president of board development. So when I meet people, I want to meet people and talk to them about ways that they can give me ideas, how to do that better. I want to meet people who may be interested in joining and helping out. I may want to meet people who are going to be future speakers and contribute, right? I may want to meet people who are going to be sponsors and give us money so we can put on bigger professional development events, right? All of those just naturally flow from my overarching purpose of like trying to really develop underrepresented professionals to the best they can be professionally. And then I kind of put that alpha filter on, right? Because as you point out, we're there for alpha. So there's some specific things, but I don't limit it, right? Like I don't say the only thing I want to do is find, 5 people who are going to serve with me on this committee, right? Because that's not your purpose. That's a goal.
Yeah.
Does that help, Marianne?
No, yeah, that's actually super helpful. Because like I was just kind of thinking about like I know we talked about like you shouldn't go in there with a goal, but I think it's just like what you said, aligning like what your purpose is and like putting that alpha filter on it is maybe we'll be the most successful that way.
Yeah, because there's always dual intention at the end of the day, right? and it all depends too on where you are personally. Like maybe your full intention is just how can I help grow the board, right? What are the benefits there? But maybe are you open to hope intentionally looking for opportunities, right? Or willing to hear about opportunities? Are you there to recruit? Like there's so many things that could happen. Like you can be recruiting for your job too, like multiple purposes, right? That could be meet different needs.
Yeah, and Wander, your comment brings up such an important point. A goal is closed, right? A goal is very specific. A purpose is open, right? There are a lot of things that can fulfill a purpose, but there's typically only one thing or one or two things that can fulfill a goal. That's why it's so important to have clarity around your purpose. You're not going to figure it out while you're talking to Damian Rivera, right? It's not going to come to you. Oh, my purpose. Like you kind of have to know prior to going into anything what your purpose is, and then you can think about some goals specific for that event. But what really helps is to have a very, very clear idea of your purpose. Any other questions as to tactics or things that we've covered today, or networking challenges you may have or had in the past?
Okay. Sounds like a no.
All right. Well, let me close just by going through real quickly, if you can stay on. Go through each person. Wander, what's your purpose for our Meet the Board? What would it be? Just for your first draft. It doesn't have to be your final.
No, my purpose is to find people that have the same passion as me for helping, college and pre-college students.
Yeah, there you go. Gabriella, what's your purpose?
Listen ideas, listen students, professionals, leaders, what their pains, what they like, how they hear about Alpha, to create content, to
Awesome.
create fun content for them.
Awesome. Jackie, real quick, what's your purpose?
My purpose is basically myself as well, like my professional development, career development,
Nice.
as well as learning as other people's career journeys, because I'm still entry level and I want to be like them probably, and I could definitely listen to what their journey has been. So that's my goal.
Awesome. And last but not least, Marianne, what's your purpose? First draft.
My purpose is, similar to Wander, find individuals that, have a passion for helping students, get into the careers that they want to, but also to share the word about how, powerful this organization is, and just share my story, because Alpha's helped me so much. And I just want, to be able to help as many people as possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thanks. I hope this is helpful to everyone the day of. Really looking forward to seeing all of you there, the ones who can make it. I think everyone signed up. And just to close, remember to be open, right? Know your purpose and be open, right? It's really compelling things are opposites, right? Pain, emotion, and novelty. There we go. Networking success. Be open and keep your purpose in focus. So thanks for joining, everyone. I got my QRC up there that goes to my website. I have a whole bunch of other material on public speaking, networking, stuff that you can look at right now prior to us having these sessions. You have my contact information. If you have a specific question, feel free to reach out. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joy. Bye-bye.
Wait, don't move it so I can scan the QR code.
Yeah.
There we go.